Party Buff. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Party Buff. We are back. We know it's been a long time and how much you've missed us, and frankly, we've missed you too. But we have a great show planned for you today based upon what's happened in our lives recently. Actually, more importantly, in Aussie's life, because, he's the one who had to move across the country, and we've all had really busy moments here, so guess what, everybody? It's time to pack up your potions in your old kit bag and smile, smile, smile as we talk about traveling through your favorite video games. We are going to talk about the most beautiful, whimsical, fantastical settings that anyone could dream up in their lives. Every time we open up our consoles or our PCs, we are whisked away to cities and to lands and to, castles in the sky and underground temples and things that could only be dreamt up by some of the most amazing minds in the game developer world. Since our beloved Aussie has traveled across several states to set up his camp in a new territory, to start up his new game, so to speak, let's talk about our favorite games, our favorite travel moments, and let's get started. So when it comes to video game worlds, the small or the large, from the Skyrims down to the Stardew Valleys, which ones do you feel most at home in, and where is your video game home away from home? Let's start with you.
So, once again, I'm gonna say it again, Witcher 3. This is probably the 50th time I've said this, but damn is that world gorgeous. And I could definitely I don't want to live in it. No, that world is awful to live in, by the way. Like full of monsters. I mean, monsters attacking like every town and settlement and all that kind of stuff. No. But as a Witcher playing that game, like legitimately, I was like, oh my god. That like if I had to pick one, I guess if I was good looking and as strong as Geralt, I suppose. I mean, yes, I would definitely live in that world because apparently everyone wants to.
As in the hot tub intro scene.
Yes, yeah. I'm just gonna go ahead and.
How much do we need on Patreon to get this as a picture for your calendars?
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk to Henry Cavill. And yeah, I'm gonna get ready here. I just need to put on 50 pounds of muscle. No worries.
We just need the Party Buff men calendar, we're all just doing the video game poses. That'll be yours.
Yes.
That'll be January.
Yes. Right off the bat, that's gonna be the first one.
Starting off strong, man.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I definitely felt like I said, I felt most at home. I think it was a number of factors. I mean, the world was gorgeous. Every character in the game was voiced, and I think that makes a huge difference in terms of immersion. So you're not just reading off the dialogue. Like every character was voiced. There's a bunch of options for each character, and it genuinely felt like when you walk through a town, it genuinely felt like the people there were living in that town, so to speak. You had the blacksmith, you had you talk to basically everybody in the town, and each one had the purpose, and the way the towns are kind of separated from one another. It was very well designed. The entire game is very well designed in terms of the terrain, in terms of how the characters and the architecture and all that kind of stuff was really built. So I mean, yeah, to me that was definitely be one that I felt like most at home in, I suppose. But yeah, that's my answer. What about you, Aussie?
It's funny you brought up The Witcher. I thought you probably would.
Damn it, you know me too well.
Looking through the questions, The Witcher actually came up in my mind as well. And I was kind of thinking to myself, as someone who's played quite a lot of games, there's I don't know, I've played RPGs for God knows how many years, and they're always the happy ending, right? Like the heroes always save the day, and maybe somebody dies along the way or whatever, but
someone dies. That's all good.
I feel like most RPGs are in the end you've saved the kingdom, you've saved the princess, whatever. There's always a good outcome. One thing I really appreciated about The Witcher 3, as somebody who kind of considers themselves to be a realist, is it's a shit world. Shit's happening to everybody.
Yes, yeah.
There's a plague. There's curses. There's a lot of situations where no matter what you do, there's not a great outcome. I really love that moral gray area in The Witcher.
Yes.
I kind of appreciate that aspect, and I agree with you on that. Is when you're going into the town, it did probably one of the best jobs of making me think it was a believable world. It felt like an actual realistic setting,
Yeah, like where people are just absolutely awful to each other. You know what I mean, like that happens to me. Like the very first scene, like in Velen. You know, I'm not spoiling anything at this point. The game's 6 years old, but
Yeah.
the very first scene in Velen, you walk past a tree with a bunch of hanged people on it. I mean, and there's racism towards other races. You know, and there's or other species, you know, the elves and the dwarfs and all that kind of stuff. So it's all yes. I mean, it sucks because the game is very depressing in a way. Like I felt very very melancholy when I was going through Velen. You know, just it just felt like, oh my god, this is. I could genuinely feel my mood just dropping.
Y'all depress me, man. I mean, God, if I play a video game, I want to live in utopia. I want to be in like happy, everybody gets along, animals fluttering by. Yeah, I mean, I just want to. I want to live in a happy world. You're all like, I love it. They're hanging people and they're like sewer in the streets.
They're burning people at the stake, and people are racist toward each other.
Yeah, no. I don't know. Like, I was trying to think on this a little bit. I don't know that I have any particular game that's like, wow, this is my feel at home game. But The Witcher definitely did pop into my head for being like, that was probably the most believable world in a video game that I've played.
So out of these games, and I know Witcher is beautiful, is it really something where you feel captivated because it's just a mood? Or is it because it's also really immersive graphically?
Combination.
Probably a combination both.
Yeah, combination.
Like everything I was thinking of too, that I was like, you know, I really like some old Final Fantasy games, but I think a lot of those, it's kind of atmospherically, but also the music for me, like the combination of everything. I think like there's some of those games where I started up, like Final Fantasy VI comes to mind, aka Final Fantasy III, because they didn't have their shit together back in the day. Anyhow, the intro scene for that, there's like this big mech like walking through the snow, and there's this music playing, and just like that scene to me, there's something about it that as soon as I'm watching it, I'm just like. Like my body just feels at ease. I don't know what it is, but there's definitely some old like Final Fantasy games that really do it for me. But yeah, I think for The Witcher, it is the combination of just it being a very believable world, and then
the music too.
I'm gonna get cutscenes of The Witcher at the beginning and start playing like music like Yakety Sax and like Benny Hill stuff over the front of it just to change the atmosphere.
Might a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you know, speaking of the music, like you know, like Ossie was saying, like the music is very, very good in Witcher 3 as well, which kind of adds to the whole. It just puts a cherry on top, if you will.
Yeah, for sure.
So, what games recently have you played where you opened the game and suddenly you are just taken away? The beauty was so breathtaking. It was the most amazing, beautiful thing that you had seen recently, not in older games. I know we could talk about. We're gonna mute as so I think that I'm just gonna start with mine. The one that really was like, wow, games have changed, life has evolved. Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild's opening scene, you come out of the first shrine and you get the lookout over the landscape. You're on top of the cliff. You get to see everything. It's entirely open world. There's no loading screen blocks or anything. It's just you get to see everything. It felt so fully in depth. You could see horizons after horizons. As somebody who lives near the Texas Hill Country, one of my favorite things is to count the level of horizon I can see. And for anybody who lives in the Texas Hill Country, you can attest to this. You can see like 5 different levels of horizon, like shades of green moving back from different mountains and different hills, and I call it the levels of horizon. And something that just really hit home for me in my heart with Breath of the Wild was I saw that, and it just kind of felt nostalgic for me for something that's even in my real life. So I really just felt awestruck. I look at Breath of the Wild as one of the most beautiful opening scenes in a game. So what scenes for you, whenever you first started up this game, you went, this is about to get good? Aussie, go ahead.
So there's 3 things that kind of come to mind for me. So as you mentioned, Breath of the Wild. I remember when I first got my Switch. I remember like pre-ordering my Switch and Zelda. Actually, I have a giant collector's edition in this box behind me because I kind of like Zelda a little bit. But I remember being sort of skeptical like leading up to the Switch because there was everybody sort of like, it's not as powerful as the PS4 and Xbox and everything. And I remember getting that game and starting it and being like, wow, this is really beautiful. Like I was really impressed with what they were able to do with that game. So that one is definitely up there. And then the other 2 that kind of come to mind for me are ones that they're not super, super new, but Horizon Zero Dawn and then actually God of the War. God of the War.
God of the War. Of the War. Of the War.
The War. Don't know which one, but
That's
war.
the rip-off version.
Only one war.
But no, God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn. I remember, so I have like a 4K TV that I got when I moved into my last place, and I remember the very first thing I did was like hook up my PS4 Pro to it, turn on like HDR and fucking 4K and everything, and pop in Horizon Zero Dawn. And I remember just like looking at the sky. Like I think Shelby was in another room, and I was like, Shelby, come look at this. Come look at the sky. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
I was just standing there like looking around at the environment. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't even playing the game.
I just imagine Aussie just standing there, like, just crying, man, just breaking down on the couch. Like, it's beautiful, damn it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like on the couch, like tears streaking down my face. I'm like looking at the fucking Aurora Borealis in that game, and I was like, oh my God.
And then I imagine Shelby coming in and be like, damn, he's drunk again.
Yeah, exactly. But no, like that game to me has like some of the most beautiful atmosphere I've seen in a game. And then God of War, which I kind of played more recently, I remember just having some really pretty landscapes to look out over, but it's definitely much more of a linear game where you're sort of on a path and you're like looking out and you can kind of see stuff, whereas Horizon Zero Dawn was much more open world and you could kind of go out into the sprawling mountains and whatnot.
Can you imagine if you got VR though, like when VR gets to that kind of graphical fidelity? Can you imagine?
You kidding me?
Yeah. Also be having a straight on like sobbing session.
The other like honorable mention I'm gonna give is way back in the day, probably in like 2015. I tried streaming once or twice, just like from my PS4, just to be like, let me turn on the PS4 streaming feature and see what happens. I remember playing Grand Theft Auto when it first came out, and I remember some dude jumping into my chat, and he was just like, can you go to the water? The water in this game is beautiful. And I was like, sure, dude, whatever you want. And I remember like driving to the beach for this random guy. And he was just like, oh my God, look at the water. It's like me and my buddy still joke about it to this day because we were playing together at the time. And like, there's a good chance this guy was high off his ass. But the water in that game is very pretty. And that game in general, I feel like Rockstar games, looking at GTA or Red Dead Redemption, for example, like Red Dead Redemption is a super good looking game. I remember the first time I played it, if there's sunlight behind your character, you can actually see like the sun through their ears. It'll be like reddish, kind of like lit up. You can actually see like the veins in their ears. I'm like, who thinks to do that? Like, when did we get to that point in gaming? You know what I mean? As someone who loves SNES graphics, it's insane to me.
I just want to point out that the one person that was in Aussie's chat, my official headcanon is that was Aussie from the future. Like that's Aussie when he's breaking down, like, look at the water, man. Come on, dude.
I was that person in Thundercat's chat. I don't even remember what game he was playing, but it was gorgeous. And they were at like some kind of hidden hideaway, and there was a waterfall. That's where they kept their cache of weapons. And I was like, that's so pretty. I said, I love waterfalls in games. And he's like, well, let's just sit here and admire it. I was like, I don't want to stop your gameplay. And he goes, no. Let's sit and admire the waterfall. Let's have some fun. And so he just sits there for me and lets me admire the waterfall, because waterfalls in video games are some of my guilty pleasures. I love waterfalls in video games.
I mean, just in real life too.
Yeah.
Thundercat, if you're watching this, please tell us what game you were playing.
Yeah, I don't remember. Thundercat, what game was it? What game was it where you were shooting things? I mean, I know that doesn't really narrow it down, but what game were you shooting things? And you had guns.
Was it Apex, maybe? I'm thinking if it was Apex. I know he plays that quite a bit.
It probably was Apex.
Like a survival game. I forget what it's called, but I know he was playing a survival game for a little bit where you're like building forts and stuff like that. But
I don't think it was like Valorant or anything. I think it was like...
Oh, no, there is no. No, it's definitely not Valorant.
No, it was something first-person shootery. Thundercat? Please?
Let us know.
Okay,
yeah.
Moving on. Let's find the next one here. Oh, this is one of my favorites. I'm going to start this with a story instead of just straight up asking the question. Once upon a time, I've been in part of a video game family for a very long time, and my mom played video games on her PC forever. And there was a company back in the day called Sierra, and Sierra has been bought and rehashed. And if anybody's old enough to remember Sierra games, I'm talking things like King's Quest and Rex Nebula and the Cosmic Gender Bender. These are all things that happened with Sierra. So my mom was obsessed with finding hidden places and hidden things. Every wall she would walk, every nook and cranny, every little floor tile. Watching her go through a level is the most painful thing imaginable. I cannot imagine some of the open world games taking her less than 500 hours because of how meticulous she is about every rock, every little thing. She is so meticulous. So one time, and guys, Aussie has already cussed in this episode. I'm putting it on mature filter just to be aware of this. My mom is walking along a wall, and she's meticulously walking back and forth, and walking back and forth, and she manages to go through the wall. She clips, but not really. Like, it was obviously not supposed to happen, but it did. And she goes into a room where it's a cave, and it's filled with phallic imagery. I mean, filled with it. Every stalactite, every stalagmite, everything was phallic imagery. Everything. It was genitalia wall to wall in this cave. It's just like littered with it. And my mom ends up calling them and saying, I found your little secret. And they go, what are you talking about? She goes, I found your dirty little secret cave of wonders. And just like the developers are just in like this long pause. They go, we thought we deleted that. Like, it was a joke and they didn't delete it. And it was just kind of this hidden gem. And she goes, maybe you should send out a beta, like send out a key to fix this. Because back in the day, to get corrections in a game, you couldn't just upload it to the internet and download the patch. It was literally send the disk. Send the little, you got the big old 5.5 floppies or your 3 1/4, and send the disk to fix it. And they were just shocked she found it, and they were mortified. So with that in mind, what hidden gems have you found in the games you've played? What hidden areas or bonus areas, even if they were left in intentionally, even if there's like the little special ones. My mom found one by accident that wasn't supposed to be there, but what about the ones that are supposed to be there? So what do you think? Have you found any hidden beauties?
I mean, when I look at myself in the mirror every day.
And that's the clip. Thanks for joining us on Party Buff. Everyone have a great day.
No, but I just want to. I had this when you're talking about your mom, calling the developers. Like, I just imagine her calling them like, "Hey, I know your dirty little secret. I know what you did."
That's pretty much what she did.
The developers freaking out, like, "Oh God, no, please." But so recently, as my stream knows, and as you guys know, I've been playing a lot of Gangshin Impact, and that's also a game. Going back to the last question, what recent game for the what recent game made your jaw drop? Definitely Gangshin Impact. I remember I have a couple screenshots on my Twitter. Shameless plug for all the Twitters down there. But I have a couple images on there where it's like the game is just absolutely beautiful. I love that aesthetic. It gets compared a lot to Breath of the Wild. Really, in terms of aesthetic and open world, that's really the only thing it's similar to. But Genshin also has, just like Breath of the Wild, it has a lot of places where you can kind of, you have chests that you can find. You have these little thing called Sealies where they'll guide you to a certain place and they open up chests for you as well. They have these little, and so even like yesterday, I was really surprised because when you get to a certain enough level, the chests kind of drop off. Like, you don't find as many anymore, like, because there's a limited number of them. So, like, as you're leveling up and as you're going to the world, the chests, you start finding way less and less and less of them. And so yesterday, I remember finding one. I was like, oh my God, I found a chest. It was like hidden behind this wall that I've been in that area, like, thousands of times, but I never went like specifically around that particular wall. And so I remember just happening, like, I was cutting down trees and I just happened to go behind that wall, and I was like, oh my God, there's a chest in plain sight here. And it's so awesome because the other day I was also streaming Genshin, and I remember finding like 10 chests in a day, like, while I was streaming. And every time I found one on stream, you guys should have seen me. I was like, oh my God, I found the chest. Oh my God, I found 3 of them, so it's I feel like that kind of stuff is and Genshin has a lot of places where, like, they hide the chests in different areas and they hide in little caves and little corners and stuff like that. So for me, definitely, as far as in recent memory, Genshin would probably be that game for me.
Nice. What about you, Aussie?
I don't know. Nothing super particular comes to mind. Playing a lot of older games, I feel like it was a lot more common in like the NES or SNES days that there's just hidden shit everywhere. Like, oh, there's nothing on screen, but if you jump in this particular spot, like, there's something there. Or like, if you hold up in this wall, you can like go through a door that isn't visible, right? Like, I remember a lot more of that in older games, and I really enjoyed that because, I don't know, I'm a very like OCD person when I'm exploring games. So usually if a path splits off in 30 different ways, like, I have to check every single way before I go on.
But I hate that. Hate that, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, dang it.
I always do that. So like, if I'm playing multiplayer games with people, I'm like, all right, we haven't checked this one little corner yet. And they're like, can we go to the next map, dude? Like, come on. And I'm like, no. But what if there's stuff over there?
They hated me in
Although-
teams. PWI too.
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
very like meticulous about that sort of shit. So I like being able to find hidden stuff like that. I feel like it's a lot less common in games nowadays than it used to be back in the day.
Also,
I
I'm
don't know.
surprised you didn't say Dark Souls.
Yeah,
Dark-
Souls
like-
has, yeah, there's like hidden walls in Dark Souls.
There's
You
like
can,
hidden entire
go
bosses,
hit
like
a
levels.
wall and it turns to
Yeah.
and like walk through it. Yeah, a lot of stuff like that. So those are like intentionally hidden things. I really like that aspect. But I mean, there are tons of games too. And again, I feel like it's kind of less common these days because games go through so much testing or get patched if something is broken. But I remember back in the day, you know, there were a lot of games, especially I feel like during the PlayStation 1 era, that general time frame where you'd just be like running along and like clip through a wall or something. I remember playing a lot of old GTA games like GTA 3 or like Vice City, stuff like that, where you'd like hit a jump and when you go back to the floor, for some reason your car just like goes through it and like spins out and you're flying into fucking space under the floor, and then like you might just respawn in the sky and fall back down, or you might just fall forever. Who knows?
Clipping through.
It's your choice.
I feel like there's a lot of just random shit like that when 3D games were first kind of becoming a thing, you know? And I almost kind of like miss that because I'm a big fan of bugs in games. Like whenever anything bugs out, or like if something ragdolls and just ragdolls like 5,000 feet across the world, I'm like, this is amazing. I love it.
This is why he plays Dauntless.
Yep.
Pretty much.
I think my favorite one that I found was on Sirius Sam. I'm thinking about just favorite little hidden places. You go into this area and there's a big room and there's one teeny tiny thing way off in the distance on the floor. Not on a table, not on a chair, on the floor. It is a blank room with a tiny thing you can't see. And so you walk up to it, and as you get closer, you look at it, and it's literally like the game. It's the scene where you're supposed to be fighting this arena full of bulls. Like this entire arena. And you can see you, and you can see the bulls, and you're like, this is cool. And here's the best part. I love Sirius Sam. If you walk on it, you die. It is my favorite part of the game. It's just like voodoo doll room, and it's just a single room with a tiny model of what's going on in the game. And I just thought that was brilliant. That's
pretty bizarre.
Why is
Just
this
imagine
here?
the Dark Souls thing popping up on the screen. You died.
Yeah. It was just, I was playing it with my mom. My mom and I used to play first-person shooters, but not as a team, as two different players. She would literally be driving with the WASDs, and I would be shooting with the mouse. We'd be sitting next to each other, and that's how we would play them. And so we just kind of look at each other, and we just both start cracking up laughing, just like, we didn't expect it. We did not see that coming. On the plus side, if you killed the bulls with your gun in that little model room, they died in the real room, which was pretty cool. So, lesson learned.
I need to go
say,
look this up now.
what's that?
I need to go look at this now on YouTube.
Oh,
I
you
gotta find a
should.
clip of this.
And it's a great game too. So if you're into first-person shooters that have a lot of snark and they have kind of a fun, punchy rivalry with Duke Nukem, you'd enjoy it. You'd enjoy it. It's
I actually
really
have the
funny.
games. I've had the games for years and years in my Steam library.
I have like 10
I've just
of them
never played them.
I got on a Humble Bundle and I've just never played any of them.
Same. I think I got through a Humble Bundle. I have the games.
So,
We were obsessed with it. I had merch. I still have like a beer stein with the Sirius Sam logo on it. I have a dog shirt and a matching muscle shirt for me that has a Sirius Sam logo on it. We were huge into Sirius Sam. It was like our favorite game. We were mildly obsessed. Yeah.
Mildly.
There's a meme going around the internet that said how to make video games more difficult, just add water. And I have to say that that's probably accurate because water levels suck in most games. Really do. I'm thinking of you, Sonic 2. That's the big one for me anyway. Zelda's wasn't that bad, but Sonic 2's was awful. So if you have found a game where you move from territory to territory, volcano level, lava level, fields, water, sky, what territory in games like this do you tend to drift to? You're like, this is my jam, this is my level. What's the area that's like the one that gets you the most excited?
Oscar and I are gonna say the same answer. I know what he's thinking. Oscar, I'm gonna let you say. Go ahead.
go for it.
No, we're gonna go. Ready? 1,
Yeah.
2, go.
I don't know where I'm at.
Austin's
Wait,
like,
what?
"Eh?"
I said I don't know where I'm at. I'm on the fence.
I'm gonna say Sea of Thieves. I mean, obviously, with the water level, Sea of Thieves is.
Yeah.
Isn't Sea of Thieves all water?
Yeah, but that's the brilliant part of it, though. Because
Yeah,
I mean,
so- For me, I think like I'm on the fence with water levels. See, because on one hand, like I find water very relaxing. Like Sea of Thieves, when you're on your boat and you're just like cruising on the water, like looking around. Like we've said this several times, it's beautiful. Like the water in that game looks great. Like we were talking about waterfalls earlier. You know, that's very relaxing. The sound of them, looking at them, like just water in general, I think is really relaxing. But then there's like the times in Sea of Thieves where it's like, okay, let's dive 30 feet under the water. And my anxiety kicks in because I'm like, I'm in a giant ocean and there's sharks and there's krakens and there's fucking everything under the sun. Which is pretty much how I react to giant bodies of water in real life too. So I have a love-hate with water.
I mean, I definitely don't blame you.
I think I started with like Duke Nukem 3D back in the day. I remember having a water level that I was just like terrified of as a child.
Yeah, and I got traumatized as a kid.
Every old school game has like the oxygen bars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like as soon as you touch water, you're like immediately drowning. So everything's just timed, and I just hate anything timed. Anything that I like have to rush through. Again, going back to being super meticulous and want to explore every single thing, every water level ever is like get through as fast as you can, or you're dead. And I'm like,
So that's very true. You make a good point. Yeah. Kind of wish, like that's one of the things I liked in Black Flag. I think if anyone's played Assassin's Creed Black Flag, I'm pretty sure it's that game where you can get like you get some upgrades to your armor. You can you get a full on like diving helmet or suit. I forgot what it was. It's been years since I played that game. But you can stay under the ocean for quite a bit of time. But the problem is then you start getting sharks and everything start attacking you. Like you can never really explore the ocean. I mean, I haven't played this game, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. Subnautica. I mean, I think Aussie would have a full on meltdown if you played that game, dude. I mean,
everybody's like, you should check out Subnautica. It looks really fun. And I'm like, does it? Does it look fun?
That's how Jet keeps treating me with horror games too. Jet's like, oh, you should play a horror game. Lol, lol, lol. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No.
He made me play Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice the other month, and I still haven't finished it. That was a terrifying game. Let me put it that way.
Just say he has other victims. Let him go after y'all. I'm not playing a horror game. He's not convincing me. Sorry. I love you, Jet. No.
What's your go-to?
What, for me?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't really like sky levels because I'm just, unless I'm specifically on an aircraft, but I find it really difficult to control. Water levels are a pain only because of physics puzzles. Inevitably, they have the lift the water, lower the water, lift the water, lower the water. I'm like, shut up! My favorite ones probably are caves with gems in them that glow. I like glowy things. Particularly because it also has running water, and then I get the waterfall effect without the water level to go with it, and it's just like, yay, best of both worlds. But I think my all-time favorite is big open fields with hills. Any open world game where I can go running over hills and then like running over hills and playing in flowers. I'm such a like hippie about that. I'm so into running water like creeks and streams and forests, but not dark and scary forests, but like nice forests.
Yeah, we have
and
unicorns
glowy bits
and stuff like that, and
giant rainbows.
Yes.
Yeah, giant rainbows, and
I like happy. I like games that make me feel happy and bright, and there's things growing. As somebody, I mean, guys, hello, look at my name. It is GoodRootsGames. Okay, there's a reason there's roots in there. I love growing plants. I love things that grow. So anything that has to do with like greenery and flowing water, that's my at home. Thank God for this level kind of thing.
I will say, when you mentioned like glowy stones and whatnot, it kind of reminded me, there was one area I wanted to bring up actually in Terra. I remember playing through Terra, and there's this area that you get to. It's kind of just like a darker forest, but there's just all sorts of like bioluminescent stuff. I remember there being like mushrooms and tree leaves. It almost reminded me of like in Avatar, where everything, there's just like all the glowy plants and stuff. And I don't know, that just looked.
I love Avatar, by the way.
Cool.
Love it.
What's that? Love it.
I love Avatar. I mean, I'm not ashamed to admit it. I love Avatar, but anyways.
No, I do too.
Glowy bits. Fancy
cool.
Glowy bits. I like glowy bits in scenery, and not just yes, glowy bits. It's the difference between glowy bits on an enemy and glowy bits in scenery. Glowy bits in scenery are meant to relax you. Glowy bits on an enemy are saying shoot here. I mean, glowy bits are perfect for every need. When in doubt, glowy bits. And now I'm gonna get like little glowy things for every part of my room, and just like, this is important. The glowy bit on it.
So a lot of people that have like one of those nano leaves, those RGB nano leaves that basically light up your entire freaking room and your neighborhood. Like, so I mean, yeah, you can definitely have a lot more than glowy bits already at this point.
Well, you know, everything that I can possibly get. Let's say so Ozzy, you talked about how you like to explore, you're very meticulous, every nook and cranny. What makes a game worth doing that? If it wasn't every game, okay, Ozzy can't really answer this because he's like, every game, if it's playable, I want to explore. But what is it about a game that whenever you get into it, you go, I obviously need to explore every rock? And I think for me, it's whenever they tease at it right off the get-go. If they show me a tiny little glowing speck in the corner of a room and I go up there and get rewarded for it, you can bet your butt I'm going to be doing it everywhere there's a glowy bit or everywhere there's a speck of light from that point forward. So I need to be rewarded for my curiosity right away, or I'm going to feel like it's not worth me doing.
I mean, definitely, obviously rewards for your curiosity, right? I mean, there have been games where it's like, explore and explore and explore, and there's like things to break open, but the things you break open never have stuff in them. Like you go like 2 hours and you don't get anything, so it's like, okay, clearly these are never going to get me anything, right? But yeah, I think obviously as soon as you get rewarded for it, it's like training a dog, right? You're like, ooh, it's a treat, let me go find more treats.
That's exactly how I feel about it.
Break open the things, you explore the little nooks and crannies. So yeah, I think obviously it depends on the type of game too, but I think first and foremost getting some sort of reward for it. And then secondly, if it is like a story heavy game, not to bring up The Witcher again, but
yeah, why would you bring it up again?
When I played through that game, I did every single side quest in the entire game.
Same.
And there's a lot of side quests in that game. There's like, I would say, hundreds of side quests. And the thing about that game is like, even the little side quests and like little side missions you can do feel so flushed out and full. Like they rival full quests in other games, I would say. So I think in that game it was very rewarding because you're getting little bits of story. You're getting, you feel kind of immersed in these characters' lives a little bit more. So I think getting those rewards from a story standpoint can kind of be good fuel as well to kind of like push you along and wanting to learn more about the environment that you're in, So I think having an immersive, worthwhile world that you want to be in and want to explore and want to learn more about is definitely going to help you in pushing forward to kind of explore every little thing the game has to offer,
Character development does it for me too. Yeah.
What's that? What did you say does it for you already? Sorry.
Character development. If a character says something like, I saw this very interesting looking stone at the bottom of the cave. I've never seen one like it. I'm going to get it. Yep. Get out my way.
Yeah.
You want to do
it makes me suspicious though. I'm like, why didn't you get it then, huh? If it was so interesting, why didn't you get it?
Right.
Why are you making me gonna go get it?
You can tell that, and to the Witcher 3 developers, behold, your biggest fans.
Yes, I'm saying if CD Projekt Red is watching this, you could sponsor us. I'm just saying.
Are. I'll take that segue right there thank you. As a reminder to anybody who's a viewer, we are still looking for sponsor opportunities. If you would like to have us talk about your product, your game, you as a person, whatever it is you would like, please reach out to me at partybuffpodcast@gmail.com. It is all one word, partybuffpodcast@gmail.com, and you will get to me directly. So yeah, keep that in mind as we move forward and talk about more of those games. Witcher 4 upcoming, maybe? Yeah, maybe.
Oh yeah, I mean, I just want to say that was a better segue than Linus himself. If you guys watch the Linus tech tip video, I did that segue perfectly. Also, Linus, if you're watching this, nothing against you, but that was a perfect segue.
Yeah, that's right. As showing us the way. I
know, right?
We're getting smoother as time goes on here, guys. Hiatus or not, we're getting smoother. I love it. So yeah, we didn't get a chance to ask you, what it makes you want to explore every nook and cranny, every little bit of a game.
Kind of like what you guys said. Basically, it has to be rewarding. I want to be paid for my time and effort. I mean, every time, so just like Aussie, just like Witcher 3, I did every single side quest, got the achievement for it, but every single side quest, most of them actually, I would haggle the price. I'd be like, yo, I want to be paid for this, dude. You'd have like the mom who's like, but I have 3 kids and the monster's been ravaging my house for the last 2 weeks. I don't have much money. I'm like, you got 300, take it or leave it.
You don't have much money, but you got money.
How much is not much?
Every single character gave you the option to haggle. I haggled every single one of them.
Yeah, no, so I mean, yeah, like so it has to be kind of rewarding. I mean, I know Dark Souls has kind of traumatized me. Like when I first played Dark Souls, I went up to a chest, I'm like la la la, and then Mimic pops out. I'm like, well, it looks like I'm traumatized for life now. So,
Your life is now
but
over. Sorry.
Never
yeah,
trust inanimate objects again.
yeah, exactly.
Any of them, not just chests, but like any of them. Like
Yeah.
vases, mimics on vases, mimics on like tables and stuff. You're just like poke. Anybody who's old enough on the internet to remember this, Eric and the Dread Gazebo. Anybody know Eric and the Dread Gazebo D&D story? Look it up, kids. It's hilarious, but that's what it reminds me of, is this basically this D&D character who's like Aussie and keeps meticulously checking every little tiny little thing, was really pissing off the dungeon master because he says, you see a hill, on it there's a gazebo, and the guy goes up and he's like, I poke the gazebo. It does nothing, it's a gazebo. I attack the gazebo. It now has a nick in it. You know, like, I shoot an arrow at the gazebo. Now it's a gazebo with an arrow sticking out of it. And it's like, he's trying to convince him it's just a gazebo. And then finally he's like, it's just a gazebo. And he goes, I guess I turn to leave. He goes, too late, you awoke the gazebo and it eats you. Like, it's just like the greatest story because you just pissed him off so bad. So now every time I see a mimic, I'm just like, can I please get a gazebo mimic to make that internet reference? Because that's gold to me. That's gold.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So now, game
Yeah.
developers who are making beautiful places, can we please have an homage to Eric and the Dread Gazebo?
No,
Very much
actually,
like
I don't
Sirius.
want that because I'm gonna watch me playing Genshin and be la la la. Here's a chest, la la la, and the mimics gonna pop out. I'm like, well, looks like I'm never playing this game ever again.
Nope, that's it. Done.
Yeah, no more chests for me. Like I barely got through Dark Souls. I'm not gonna lie. Like I would go through every chest and like freaking inspect it like from every single angle. I know there's a trick. I learned the trick afterwards.
Yeah,
Like,
there's like a chain or something on the one side
chain,
of the mimic.
yeah. I didn't learn that till afterwards. But I mean, up until that point, I was like, I would sit there debating. I'm like,
Or like you can hit them, because if the normal ones, if you hit them too many times, they'll break and you could like lose the item inside of it. But like you can hit everything at least once. So that was mine. I just run up and like beat the shit out of the chest.
every single chest, dude.
Do you have a health bar? Whack, whack, whack.
I went the gazebo route. Let me just fucking hit it with a rock and see what happens.
Yep,
I'm gonna have to
yep,
send
yeah,
y'all a link to
exactly.
that story. It's great. That
But I
we've
think
talked
it's
about
just something
like,
unique,
fantasy.
it's just something unique or rewarding that I was gonna wrap that answer up. If it's something unique, something rewarding, kind of like, that's definitely my my
You have to be
rewarding
rewarded.
aspect.
Ring the bell,
Yes.
give the treat. Come on. You
I
know,
need
we
my
need it.
dopamine hit.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
You want us to keep exploring your game? Give us a reason to. That's why. You have to teach us from the get-go it's rewarding. And I think that's true. I mean, we're not psychologists, but we are video gamers, so there's a little bit, half and half. We've talked about those fantasy worlds. We've talked about the whimsical worlds. We also know that there are many video games based on real-world locations. For example, Spider-Man is based in New York. There are games that are based like in the Southwest, and actually based in the Southwest. I believe Grand Theft Auto is literally based in LA. I think that it is
Yep.
based in LA. Whenever it comes to games like this, sometimes it's hard to get the accuracy. And I'm not talking about just like landmarks either going down or being raised. I'm talking about the actual accuracy of the place. Does it fit the vibe? Does it fit the experience of being in that place? Or does it look like somebody just watched it on the news and went, this looks good for a video game, and let's put it together? So with that, have you found a game where you're like, dang, this is good? This is like walking through the streets of this city or this town, or other times where you're like, have you even been to these locations? So what do you think, guys?
I mean,
You can go ahead.
no. I mean, I was gonna say I think Fallout 4 is a pretty good representation of modern day of the modern day world. So that's it's gonna happen one of these days. So I'd say Fallout 4, but realistically, though, I was gonna say from what I know, GTA is based on LA. And I've actually only played GTA a little bit. I know, I haven't played it that much at all. But from the little bits and pieces I played of it and the things I've heard of other people say, it is for the most part like 95% accurate to LA. Like you can see the streets, you can see the the exact buildings there. And it's very. I mean, but then again, that's Rockstar. Their attention to detail is second to none. So I wouldn't put it past them to go if there's a grocery store option to go to a grocery store, like the prices are updated in real time, like you can buy a banana or something like that. Like wow, that's a real real price of a game. So Rockstar and their attention to detail, I think, is second to none. But I mean, as far as other games, I'm not too sure. Like, I don't really. I feel like most games that do end up taking that route generally have a pretty good representation. You know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna put like LA Staples Center in like New York, for example. You know what I mean? So like, I feel for the most part they definitely have pretty good representations.
Is Detroit Become Human based in Detroit? Can anybody answer this for me?
I haven't played that game, but I want to. It's on my wish list.
Oh, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
I've barely played it. I mean, I've played it in the sense that I've watched Shin play it, and I've watched other people play it, but I'm not sure if it's actually based in Detroit. If you are Detroit-based, or if you know if it's based in Detroit and looks like Detroit, let us know if that's one of the games that's accurate. I'm thinking of ones that, you know, and it doesn't have to be a recent game where you're just like, every detail, every street sign looks great. Cruisin' USA for the N64. Once upon a time, went around different areas. I was a child, so I can't tell you if they were accurate or not, but I do remember feeling the wind in my hair as my convertible drifted down Cruisin' USA. You know, it was nice to go through different environments. A lot of racing games I feel have this, and I'm thinking racing games are probably the biggest ones that try to stick to accuracy. Like any of the Tokyo Drift kind of games would be, is it actually in Tokyo? Does it look like Tokyo? Any place, the snowboarding games, any of the sports games really, where they're moving around from location to location. I'm thinking 1080, the snowboard game, another one. It's like, is there actually a mountain that looks like this? Is there a track that looks like this? Can you say with definitive?
I imagine like golfing games and stuff like that are probably based off real courses, right? I don't.
That's a good point. You would think, yeah.
The last golf game I played, probably like NES tournament on the NES, but
no, like FIFA, for example. FIFA has the like, you know, FIFA, like, you know, they have the stadiums, like, and the stadiums are actually the stadiums are in real life. So like, you know, they do, like, you know, when you load up the game, when you go into a match, they, you know, they show the outside of the stadium. It's like you know, a televised broadcast. You know what I mean? So they show the outside, then you're playing in the stadium. Then the exact layout of because each stadium is different. But I've played in a bunch of them, and they all are pretty freaking accurate.
I want to know
Pretty
that.
cool.
Yeah, I want to know that. For anybody who plays a lot of the sports games where they do the televised broadcast setup, the football games, even the NHL. I know Teal Shark plays a lot of NHL 21. I don't know if they do the televised broadcast outside of the arena. The FIFA games, anything like that. Tell us, is it accurate to the actual stadium location? Or is it just, we slapped a stadium in the middle of downtown and called it real? Because it obviously looks like the skyline to this city, even if it's not really there. So, does it actually feel accurate? I want to know. What about you, Aussie? Any games that stand out that just felt accurate?
So we brought up GTA. That was my first thought. And the reason for that is I've never been to LA, but Shelby has. And one time she walked in while I was playing it, and she's like, I've been there. I know that place. Is this in LA?
Wow.
And there's like an observatory or something. I don't know what the hell it actually is, but there's like this big thing. Az is just judging me for never being to Cali.
Super judging right now.
But
I've been to Cali.
Like,
I don't like being in
and
LA.
recognized this location from having been there in real life, not knowing that that's where the game was based, and was like, did they take this from that? And I'm like, oh, I think it's like loosely based off of LA. And then so it's like an observatory up on a hill, and then there's a part where there's like
observatory, I think,
by the water, and she's like been to both of those places. And in GTA, she's like, yeah, I've been here. Like, there's this thing here, there's this thing here, and like it's, you know, it's not 1-to-1, but it's a pretty accurate representation. And I thought that was pretty impressive.
I think the best representation of is the game accurate is, since Shelby's been to LA and you haven't, have her give you directions to somewhere and see if you can match it.
See if we can get there.
Yeah,
I know, right?
absolutely. You want to consider a real accuracy. It's like, oh, turn left on this street, turn right at this building, whatever. If you can show up where she wants you to be in a video game, you know it's accurate.
Yeah.
No, I know. If you want even more real accuracy, put her on a call with me, have her give me directions when I go to LA.
Yeah. See if it's real, and all of you combine, right? You drive to LA, and you go, you actually take the directions. Shelby's giving the directions to Aussie. Well, and Aussie is driving with you.
Real life and in game, just.
And if you both end up in the same place, and you have to send pictures to each other and be like, "Does it look like this?"
Yeah,
oh my God, guys, we'll Patreon this out. We'll Patreon this out. We're gonna do it. We'll talk about it. That sounds like fun to me. So let's wrap it up here. Oh, go ahead, Aussie.
I want to kind of mention is the Division and the Division 2. And I forget where exactly the Division 2 is based out of. It might be Washington or something like that. But the Division 1, I think, is based out of like New York. And it's not the entire city of New York City, but like the portion of it that it is. I think it's supposed to be basically like a 1-to-1 scale of all the streets. Like you can go look at the street signs and like actually walk through as if you're in New York City. And I lived near New York City to the point where like I had been there a couple times, and there were like buildings and monuments and stuff that I would actually recognize, and I thought that was pretty impressive. Granted, it's kind of in like a post-apocalyptic world, so it's not like a pretty 1-to-1 ratio, but like it was accurate enough that you can kind of look at the map and see the actual streets and see where you were going, which I thought was pretty cool.
I think anywhere where you can do that, where you can look at something and it's actually accurate. I know that if my city was featured in a video game, and I'm sure it has been somewhere, I live in a large city, I just haven't found it yet, that it would be nice for me to go around and be like, oh, you turn left here and you get to this, you turn right here, you get to this. That would be pretty cool. I like games that have that level of detail. To me, that's cream of the crop.
So, yeah.
So as we wrap it up here, let's talk about one of my favorite topics to end on is this is more than just a podcast for streamers and gamers, which obviously that's our big thing, right? Boosting gamers and streamers. But gamers too often become developers, and I shouldn't say too often because we need more video games in the world, and it should be done by gamers. So I'm going to address this question to all of us and kind of send the answer out to the video game developers in the world here. What can game developers and game creators do to keep their territories interesting and not cliche? Or if cliche with intent. So what can these developers do to just keep you going, you know, to keep their games fresh and alive? And I'll start it off here while you guys think about it, because I've thought about this. Like I said, reward me from the get-go. Tell me that something is going to be worth my time. Don't make me wait until even 10 minutes into the game. I need to know immediately that this is an aspect of your game. I need to know that this is something that really is an aspect, or you need to make it very clear later on. Even if it's a platformer, you need to make it something obvious and then slowly make it less obvious. I'd say if you're going to go with cliche levels, then just absorb the fact that it's going to be cliche. We have a water level, we have a lava level, we have a sky level, you know, just go with it, okay? Absorb the fact it's going to be cliche and don't try to turn it into something it's not. This has been tried and true for video games since video games have existed. I don't think that going through it and being like, it's a sky level, but it's also underwater, how are we going to pull that off? If you're going to do that, just make it raining. You know, add an element to it that's natural to the environment. Or if you're going to have, you know, like the lava level, then make it an underground lava level. You can do different things with it, but absorb the fact that it's going to seem cliche. And on the keep it interesting, keep it moving, keep your territories beautiful, think about how it's approached from every angle. I think we have all played games where they didn't expect you or want you to go at it from a different angle, and suddenly it's like just a flat wall. Like, the cliff ended! You weren't supposed to see this side! What were you thinking? No, you really need to think about a territory from every angle it can be seen, because some people are going to want to look at it and take screenshots of it from a strange angle. I know a guy who's in my stream, he's a total sweetheart, called the Gametographer.
Oh, these days is huge.
Yeah.
Like, game photography is massive.
Yeah.
You need to absorb that, and Gametographer is always looking for beautiful games and beautiful angles. If you're not thinking about those angles, you are missing out on a brilliant opportunity to capitalize on your scenery. Do not flat ground it. Think about it as if, even if you have a feeling like 0.001% of your player base is going to look at it from this angle, that 0.001 will thank you. That's me. What about you, Az? What can they do in your mind to keep the game brilliant, beautiful, and territorially pleasing?
Add me into the game. No, I was just saying add me into the game.
Yeah, right? Just put you know, you could make the best game for Az in the world by just putting up a mirror screen. Like, seriously,
Yes,
send him
exactly.
a webcam and he'll just be like, it's the best game in the world.
I'm totally not vain or egotistical at all. I just want to point that out.
This is as ego stream.
Yeah, this is a feel good stream for me.
Oh,
But in terms of, I guess the biggest thing is like for me, like something gets very stale if I see like the same enemies in this, in another region. Like if I hop over from one region to another, and the same enemies are there, it kind of looks like it just copy pasted some things. That to me is like, yeah,
I
this is
changed the color of their horns. It's a different
yeah,
enemy.
exactly. It's Dauntless. They had a new behemoth and just changed. They add some shields in there. Like, all right, guys, it's a new behemoth. I'm like, yeah,
is
like
it though?
yeah, exactly. So it's like it, new. Like if I go to a new region, I kind of want there to be new enemies, a new like I want to feel like I actually went to a new different like a biome. You know what I mean? Like I think recently I've been playing a game called Valheim. Uh, I know the people are gonna be watching like Mason and Nanashi. If you guys watch this, I know I should probably play a lot more of it because they keep telling me to play more Valheim. But like that game, you literally go from one biome. Like you start off at like I won't spoil it all, but you start off at like in the meadows, and then you go into like a forest. You know what I mean? And that you can definitely tell the change of the mood, the change of the music, different monsters, harder. Like you got skeletons now instead of just deer and pigs, and then you go to the next biome, which is like a swamp region, and once again, you can see different enemies. You see different, like it's a whole different mood, like the lighting is all different. You got a different, like you got puddles on the ground now, so it's all like stuff like that. Definitely that keeps me interested. Definitely is not for me at least, it's not cliche because you got these different enemies, different biomes. But yeah, just something like that, I guess, would be the easy. I know it sounds easy. Hey, just create new enemies. Duh. I know there's a lot of development that goes on behind the scenes, like to make that happen. But that would be my answer. What about you, Aussie?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you just said, actually. I mean, I think it's okay to an extent to recycle assets within a game. You know what I mean? Like, you've already made it, change it up a little bit, maybe use it somewhere else, sure, but like maybe more as a background drop kind of thing. But as core parts of the game, yeah, I definitely love to see a shift in the atmosphere, a shift in the enemies, like more major change. And I know one thing I was thinking of the whole time you guys were talking was, and I know you've played this game is Godfall. And like I know you were kind of enjoying it as you were playing through it. And like
I still haven't finished it, dang it. Yeah. I said I still haven't finished it. Okay. I haven't gone back to it.
That game to me, it just got so repetitive. And I don't know, like I felt like every mission that you dropped in, it's like, okay, you have a different objective at the end, but it's the same thing. You jump in, you run from point A to point B, you do objective, you jump out.
Yep.
And it's the same thing over and over and over. And it's like you just, even once you get to new biomes, there's like slightly different monsters, but it's still the same thing. Like still the core.
Yeah, it just hell repetitive. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you need to not only just switch up the biomes and the monsters and the looks and whatever enemies, whatever you want, but just keep it kind of like original with each area. You know what I mean? I think one reason that Zelda games have done so well over the years is like you go to a new temple, you get a new item that now lets you explore not only places that you've already been, but places coming up. Like it opens up the next area, And I think I love to see that in games where there's just a progression or there's new mechanics throughout, right? Like, yes, we want to be rewarded, but we don't want the same reward for the next 30 hours. Like spice it up a little. I think that's a big piece of it for me is just having some variety as you're transitioning through the game, as you're going to these new areas, as you're checking out new biomes, not only keeping them fresh, but like add something a little new in there, add some.
Yeah, like a new reward. I think that's the biggest thing is adding a new type of reward. Because like you said about Godfall, it's basically like I was thinking, like while you were saying that, I was thinking about it. I'm just like, yeah, what you said makes exact sense because you kind of you drop in, it's the same exact enemies. Like, they have a different armor on or whatever, but like you just go from the same point over and over again. And it like, I'm trying to think like, sorry, good.
The rewards in that game, one thing I felt like was like at level 5, you're getting, your blue hammer. And then at level 50, you're getting the purple hammer, but it's like the exact same skin.
Exactly.
And there's like nothing the move set and everything. It's like, yeah, there are some legendaries and stuff that function a little bit differently, but for the most part, you like, I want a new skin. I want my thing to look badass now. You know, I don't want it to like, I don't want this super strong weapon that looks the same as the weapon I had 20 hours ago, right? Like I want shit.
No,
Just a little more.
yeah, no, they didn't have many other objectives other than, hey, slaughter like 50,000 enemies on the way to the objective, and that was it. Like that was really like, I mean, compared to a lot of other games, there's like, multiple ways to do it. There's multiple like Deus Ex, where they have the like you can stealth your way through portions. You can go in guns blazing. A game that has multiple options, to me, I think that's the biggest thing in terms of keeping stuff unique too. If you have multiple ways to achieve your objective.
So for that to be said, for the kind of the recap for the future video game developers in the field here, think about the way it's going to be approached from every angle. Change up the view of your enemies or of your characters from biome or from environment to environment. And do the same thing for your weapons, or consider the fact that you can add an instrument to the game that can be used in places that you were already. That you can go back and now you have this instrument, so now you can explore even more special areas where it didn't look that special in the first place, but now you can grappling hook up your way up the mountain. Whenever you couldn't even climb the mountain in the first part. So they never even thought about the mountain in the first part. So there are ways to keep it fresh. Change the characters and the monsters from environment to environment. Do not give me a polar bear in the desert. If you're going to use the same model, and guys, if Tibia can pull it off,
come on.
Yeah, a desert bear. If Tibia can pull it off, and it's been around since 1999, certainly in 2021 it can be done. I'm not saying don't use the same model, because it's a matter of efficiency and a matter of ease. What we're saying is make sure it's using the same model with an intent to change what it is. Just a little bit. Put on a little bit of sparkle, put on a little bit of design. You don't have to completely change the angle and draw a whole new thing. Just slapdash some glitter on it and we'll be happy. Just make it look intentional. Please. That's what we want. And, again, Witcher 4, for these two fellows right here, they would absolutely be thrilled, as I'm sure many of the video game community would be. Gentlemen, do we have any closing remarks to our video game developer friends, our streamers, our gamers, our fans?
Yes. If Henry Cavill would like a stand-in for him for the Witcher series, I am more than available.
Oh my god. Love it. Love it. That confidence, man. It just oozes off of Az like crazy. Well, with that, I will say thank you to the fans who waited so long for our episode of Party Buff to come out. I know we've had this long hiatus, but we are so happy to be back. Ozzy's like, it's my fault. No, shut up. Okay? We all had things going on. Shut up, you. He's fine. But we had a lot of stuff going on. Life was different and challenging and everything, but we are back at it. We are doing well, and we will try to keep the schedule rolling at least once every couple of weeks. We'll see what we go now that we're still getting settled into it. But hey, guys, we're back. A dinosaur story. Not copyrighted. Don't even joke. But we are back. Once again, I am GoodRootsGames /Artie. That's Azrenix. That is Oscitater. So thank you again for being here with us. We appreciate it. Stick around. There's always more good things to come. Thanks for being here. Bye.
See ya.
Party Buff.